Hello! How are you doing there? It's cold and nasty outside. That's why it's always so comfortable to wear this robe. It's very comfortable to lounge and engage in deep thoughts in. I've got a couple, many hundreds actually, of books in the back room and countless hundreds in the basement. And a lot of them are on these really, really cheap bookshelves. Like, the really, really cheap ones, the ones that were like $20 back in the day. Many of them are over 20 years old. Been standing there full of books, each one of them. So yesterday was extremely tiresome. And I thought, well, I'm going to take a rest with a chicken sandwich. So I made myself a chicken sandwich, and I thought I'd sit there and rest with my chicken sandwich and unwind with some beans and a chicken sandwich. And about a third of the way eating into it, I couldn't rest because it sounded like the whole house was just caving in. But it was two bookshelves that just completely collapsed over, and it just made a racket that seemed to go on and on and on and on. It just about, like 130 books roughly crashing to the floor. And then I knew immediately which bookshelves it was, and I remembered that on those bookshelves in front of the books, I had some things placed there. One of them was two long glass vials of tritium, radioactive tritium. And behind that is some phosphorus pieces there that are emits light. The phosphorus paper does, the paper that's soaked with phosphorus. And you could use it for reading, and very fragile. I would not want one of those to break. And I had some glass vials of liquid mercury, and I thought, oh my goodness. I said, surely those have broken. And so I went in there and I had to dig through the books, and I couldn't believe it. None of that stuff was broken. It's quite astonishing. I always wanted one of these, and I don't know how somebody knew it. They sent it to me. It's a golden ratio caliper. This is always 1 and this is always 5. So whatever you put this to, of whatever this size is over here, this will always be 1.618 times that. So whatever it is, this is always equal to 1 and this is always equal to 5. It's kind of ingenious. I stretch it all the way out. This will be equal to 1, and then this is 1.618 times that. I always wanted a set of these, so thanks to the people that sent me these. We're going to talk about prophecy and ruination, and also, too, not specifically divination, but Greek, Indian, and Egyptian prophecy is real, and it actually has a hyper-rational and logical background. And I wanted to get into discussing in the Vatican archives, there's a whole lot of stuff, including some stuff that they burned every copy of, a work by Porphyry. And it only exists in some of the works of, mostly of Origen, and it goes after the Bible. The church made sure every copy of that, except for like a remaining copy or two for their own in the Vatican archives, every copy is burned. So there's a lot of neat stuff down there, including some oracles and some prophecy. And I'd actually like to talk about the prophecy of St. Malachi. But I have to say that not only do I have zero connection with the Catholic Church, I have neither love for nor respect for same. Absolutely zero. So if you wonder why I'm talking about this, it's the fact that prophecy is real. But I'd like to get into discussing that, and a prophecy that was made, and it seems to be coming true. We'll see. A lot of, hairball prophecy stuff that, doesn't really have any basis in antiquity. It's come and gone, and I kind of knew that it would. But this one seems to be coming true. There's a lot of people that have invested in this prophecy of Malachi, and also, too, the prophecy of St. Nilus. It's propheteia in the Greek, which means before-telling, or propheme. It means before divination. It's actually seeing natural flow and a flow of natural order. And and of course we've all seen the Matrix movies. The Matrix movies, you know, the overwhelming AI that owns and controls the entire future in the Matrix, for example. So everything, you could just see absolute predictability. And of course, you can't see free will. And Neo, you know, the premise of the movie is a point of relation. Everybody's seen that, you know, even the great AI, which is a difference engine, kind of like some of the advanced computer-based chess playing algorithms or engines will work out, you know, if A then B, and if B, the A then B then C, and it'll work out the best move to make. And the more moves you make, of course you have to make many moves in chess, the better it could pinpoint down and narrow down how to defeat you. And the very best chess players on earth, I forget how many moves ahead they can see. I used to be a chess champion in high school and college. I won, big deal, you know. And it's good to actually train your mind. Well, if I do this, then that happens, and if that happens, then this happens. The best chess players in the world, some of them can see like 12 to 15 moves ahead, maybe 20. But it doesn't matter how sharp your mind is and how deep you could see into every move. And each time a chess piece is moved, you have to re-strategize. Well, a computer course can see 30 plus moves, or God knows how much deeper in, like Deep Blue. They've always beat the best chess players. You'll say, well, you can't determine free will. I mean, this life is not a chess game. And everybody talks, and they love to talk about free will. But free will is only potential, not actual. The people that actually have free will in this world, everybody else is a non-playing character or an extremely predictable puppet. I mean, extremely predictable. I, you know, do a facepalm every time I hear somebody talk about free will. It's like, what are you talking about? Most human beings don't have free will. They're extremely predictable. You know, if you do this, then that's how they'll react. And if they react that way, then this will happen. And when that happens, then they'll react this way. And seeing the flow of things, even though you don't know every nuance of where every leaf lands on a flowing creek, so, well, you know, the leaf is flowing in the creek. And I don't really care how it lands. I just need to know the flow of the creek. Since most people are non-playing characters and extremely predictable without free will, determination and prophecy is real, and it's also too a metaphysical certainty, and it's also too hyper-rational. This is actually seeing the world without time. It's if you're in the stream along with everybody else, and you actually rise yourself above it, and you're able to see, you know, 500 yards down the flow of the creek's going to take a right-hand turn. And when that happens, we'll see some whirlpools due to the disturbance of the current. So this prophecy, which is real, and of course this all harkens back, we know how much, don't know how much further than that. The ancient Egyptians have been doing it for countless thousands of years. That's probably where the oracles of Delphi got it from, because the priests of ancient Egypt would actually, and priestesses, would actually bathe in waters, and it amplified their insight, this rising above the stream and seeing further down the stream. This is how prophecy works, is that you're able to see things without the hindrance of time. We're all in the stream, you know, we can kind of maybe see what's going to happen tomorrow. If we do this and this and we're intelligent, it's like, well, I did this and this, and therefore that should happen. It may or may not happen. But being able to see far down the creek in the flow of life is hyper-rational and also, too, hyperlogical. Prophecy, of course, has always been considered a spiritual gift bestowed by the demiurge, or as a Christian would say, the Holy Spirit. As we can see in Corinthians 12:10 and also 2:14:1. Edgar Casey, he called it the Akashic Records, the place where everything is already written. It is a place that is not a place. It's an anti-place that people refer to as a place. And it is nowhere in a Cartesian map of mass and magnitude. We can't point to it in a GPS coordinate system on this Earth or even outside of this Earth, but we can actually see without the hindrance of time. So you're seeing the world without time. So this divination and this oracular vision, or to this in the Greek, that a propheme, or foresaying, or foreseeing, or foretelling, and of course this is where we get the word prophet from, is real, and it's also too rational. And this, of course, leads into, you know, the predictions of the 112 popes, by the way. Petrus Romanus is predicted by, you could look this up, there's many books about it, St. Malachi. They resurface it, even if it's only as old as 1590. That's still a really long time ago. It's supposed to be infinitely older than that. Can I say for certain? Obviously I cannot. The prophet of the popes, who predicted the last, would be Petrus Romanus, which means Peter the Roman. Current pope is predicted by St. Malachi as the last pope, the 112th pope. Now, and you say, well, this is a prophecy of Catholicism. You just got done saying you have no interest in Catholicism or even the religion of same, and I absolutely don't. I have neither love nor any respect for same. But nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. When people actually rise above something, they only are able to understand things in the frame of mind of which they have and have been taught in. If like a fish were sentient and it were able to engage in prophecy, it would prophesize the future in terms of water and flow and other, because that's, it's the mind of a fish, for example. That's obviously a radical example. These people, including St. Malachi and others, nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. They prophesied it in the thing that they knew and in their world sphere from birth and life and old age that they only knew. And so it was all seen through the lens of that which they knew. So even though this is superficially to be seen as a Catholic prophecy, it's not. It means that the prophecy thereof, or the foretelling thereof, is seen in the lens of the prophet as seen by that which he or she knows. Period. The same is true of the Greek oracles. The same is true of the Egyptian oracles. I mean, that is just, and there goes the helicopter. Probably a life flight copter. So prophecy has nothing to do with religion or religions, but prophecy itself, or a divination and seeing into the future. Of course, it's always only so ever overlaid with that which people know. And people can only relate to things that they do know. Like if a blacksmith were to have a prophecy, he would make all these metal analogies and metaphors to foretell the future. Like, oh, next year is going to be like low-carbon steel. It'll be very tough and hard to sharpen, but very brittle and fragile. Stuff like that. So I think you get the point on that. So this has nothing to do with Catholicism. There's also, too, a saying from the St. Nilus, the prophecy of St. Nilus, that when people cry out for peace and safety, that unfortunately destruction will come. We kind of see that happening now. Anyway, Petrus Romanus, or Peter the Roman, or the last, the 112th Pope, is the one that we currently have. Currently, Pope Francis, the current Pope, he is in, as of a few hours ago, he is in, not just in the hospital, he is now in critical condition. He's not expected to make it. Not only do I never had any respect for any of them, I'm trying to say this in a very, very light and professional manner. I definitely, if I were a Christian, I would have absolutely no love for this guy. I mean, the anti-biblical things that this guy has said, if I were a Christian, I would go, what did he say? A lot of them, many Christians have actually been saying that since, he's been head of the Catholic Church. Quite very, very fringe things. I'm just going to say that very lightly. St. Paul's Basilica, there's a ring on the inner sanctum, or the sanctum sanctorum. There's only one empty slot left. There's no other room. There's Pope Francis currently, and there's one other empty spot. Anyway, all the prediction is that everything would come to a halt by this prophecy by 2027, because the middle pope is in 1585, and it's 422 years after the first pope. Now, the first pope was 420... No. The first pope, I forget. What is it? Yeah, minus 422. I forget the date of the first pope, but 422 years is the middle pope. And then 422 years after the middle pope, which is 1585. 1585 and 422 equals 2027. So the first pope to the middle is 422 years, and then an additional 422 years after the middle pope. Between, you know, the first pope and the last pope is 2027. And he is the last one. He's in critical condition. He's not expected to make it. This is the prophecy of Saint Malachi. Prophecy of Saint Nilus. This is quite amazing. They said this prophecy could have been written by Saint Nilus of the 4th century or Saint Nilus the ascetic. The 17th century Nilus of Mount Athos from the 14th century, but I don't care if it's even as late as the 14th century. This is incredibly prophetic of St. Nilus talking about the end. And this is not a doom and gloom video. I'm not talking about, oh no, you know, the end is near. However, this prophecy very well could be true, but it's not connected specifically to Catholicism at all. It's just that the people that predicted this only understood things through the lens of that which they understood it, like the German mystic Jakob Böhme. He was basically an extremely ignorant German peasant farmer. I've got all of his works. His works are huge. They're really huge. They're very, very great metaphysical works. But he was only able to communicate the things that he saw through the lens of his mind. And the lens of his mind was passed through the Bible and, you know, how he was brought up and things. When people have prophecy, you have to be able to read through it. So it's like, well, this guy's talking about Catholicism. Well, I have no interest in that. I mean, you know, this can't be any true prophecy. Well, it can be. It's just that they're interpreting it through that lens of their mind. And if you can't see through that, then you don't actually understand how prophecy works. Anyway, Prophecy of St. Nilus says that, these are his words, after the year 1900, toward the middle of the 20th century, the people of that time will become let's see how true this is, will become unrecognizable when that time for advent of the anti-X, which I'm referring to Christ, approaches. People's minds will grow cloudy from carnal passions and dishonor, and a great upheaval will grow, and it'll grow stronger, and the world will become unrecognizable. Gee, that seems like the world we're living in right now. People's appearances will change. Wink, wink, nod, nod. And it will be impossible, I don't know how prophetic this is. It will be impossible to distinguish men from women. Shamelessness, blah, 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 dress and style of hair. These people will be unkind, uses another word that I'm not going to use. And people will be as like unto animals because of their temptations, and I mean, no respect for parents and elders. All love will disappear. Boy, have I really seen that one. Christian pastors and bishops and priests will become vain and basically says full of themselves, and they will no longer distinguish the right-hand path from the left-hand path. At that time, morals and traditions of the people will all change. People will abandon modesty. Boy, is that true. Dissipation will reign, falsehood and greed, great proportions. Woe unto those who pile up treasures, adultery, etc., etc. Other words that I'm not going to say here for obvious reasons. But prophecy is real, from the oracles of Delphi on. I've spoken about this before. People get inspiration in the water. He recently passed away. He was the most prolific inventor of all history. He's a Japanese guy. He'd swim in his pool like half the day. And he'd keep a bunch of notepads on the side of his pool. And he'd get inspired when he was in the water. It's the same reason the Egyptian oracles and the oracles of Delphi and others would immerse themselves in the water. It's no different than signal gain. I got a great example here. This cheap little radio comes with this little simple, I think it's like a 1/8 wave antenna. It's okay, it works, you know. It's moderately sized. Size matters, right? You actually take this antenna off and you put this one on, and this is also too a 2-meter 440. But you got way better signal gain. So you get a clearer signal, less scratch and noise. Your signal broadcast on the exact same power will reach out farther, clearer, because the gain is higher. Everything's about signal gain. Nature is really simple. The only thing that happens when people immerse themselves and engage in, the Greek word is meneme, which is apophatism. They engage their spirit or soul in signal gain, just like screwing out that larger, longer, better gain antenna onto that thing. All of this neat little magical substance right here. Water. You know, that's how people get inspired, and everybody has. Like, wow, why did I get that spark of imagination soaking in the tub or taking a shower? Like people like to sing in the shower, they get inspired. Well, there's a reason why the oracles of Delphi and of Egypt and these people would immerse themselves in water. There is no life without water. There's no consciousness without water. It's completely impossible. But signal gain in water and prophecy are linked. I even have a verse, I don't have it in front of me, but I've mentioned it before in video, where an oracle talked about needing to wade into the pools to receive the signals. You know, it works without it. You don't have to have it, but it works a whole lot better with it. Just as this radio works a whole lot better with this antenna, which costs a lot more, by the way, than the antenna that it comes with. I forget what the gain on this one is. Actually, this is diamond radio. Usually they'll say the amount of gain that you'll actually have in 2 meter 440. This one doesn't say it on there, but so prophecy is real. So we're looking at 2027, which is just 2 years from now. The current Pope is about to, I'm going to use the word expire. There's no more room on St. Paul's Basilica. There's one empty spot, I take that back, and then there's no more room after that. The 112th Pope is the last. And the current one that's about to expire is the 112th Pope. But this is, once again, not about the Catholic Church or the religion associated with same. But prophecy is real, it's palpable, it's rational, it's logical. The prophia, or before-telling, or the Greek word for prophecy, is no more special than being able to rise above the waters and see a little bit further downstream than the people that are in the stream. The people that have free will, which can change their fate on a dime, because they do have free will, is incredibly rare. There's not one person in a million that has free will. Free will, for a perfect analogy, near perfect analogy, would be an oak tree. Everybody else is an acorn. You know, you can't get any lumber out of an acorn. But genetically, an acorn and an oak tree are 100% identical. Potential free will, actual free will. You could have your house and your 100 acres of land overtop $100 million of gold, say 2,000 feet down. But you're as poor as you ever were because it's 2,000 feet down. What is potential is not actual. Prophecy is incredibly real, and unfortunately, due to the fact that this world is extremely predictable, just as is a difference engine of a chess algorithm is. Predictability of human nature and reaction is so simple. No different than an animal. I'm not saying do this, but just the thought experiment. You don't have to know the outcome to know what's actually going to happen. Like, a dog will not think a microsecond before he turns. You know, if you were to, like, not that you should. I'm not saying that. If you were to, kick a dog in the nuggets, it's not even going to think a microsecond before it turns around and, gnaws your leg off, right? That's a reactive will. That is a total absence of free will. Most human beings are not much different than that. They are extremely predictable. If I do this, then 100% that's going to happen. And when that happens, then this will happen. When that happens, then this and that. A difference engine. How do you think these chess algorithm programs were designed? Human predictability and propheme, or prophecy, is rational, it's logical, it's simplex. So, I hate to say the fact that the current Pope is about to expire or leave this world for the next, but it seems that he is, and the prophecy is, and you can go look that up, of St. Malachi, is that he's the last. He's the 112th, and the 112th is the last. So the prophecy is real, and it's not specifically attached to or sewn to either Christianity or Catholicism. That's not how prophecy works. There's a certain skill, kind of like Egyptian hieroglyphics, which was not the lingua franca of your Egyptians back in the day. It was a priestly language. You could look at it and you knew immediately what it was saying. And you had to have that insight into it, and prophecy is the exact same way. It is a priestly language of those who are deeply embedded or enmeshed into and skilled at genuine metaphysics. Other people say, this doesn't make any sense. So what do you mean? I read a bunch of Oracle of Delphi quotes or sayings. I got books of them back there. It doesn't make any sense. It's like reading gobbledygook. It's like, well, you're not reading it in the original Greek, and if you're able to see through it, you're able to, because it's just like this. You can know mathematically that this is 1 and this is phi relative to this, but you can't tell me, there's not one person in 100 million that could tell you what the golden ratio actually means. They could accurately describe it to you and give you the Wikipedia definition of what the golden ratio is. Like, what does it actually mean? What does it mean? I don't know. Kind of like everything beautiful in it. Well, that's descriptive. That's not explicative. It's like, here you go. This is a golden mean caliper. Wherever I set this at, this is a value of 1, and this is a value of phi. This relationship is the golden ratio. People, phi is the golden ratio. Like, no, this is phi, but this ratio relative to this is the golden ratio collectively. And this is also, too, gets into incommensurability. People don't understand incommensurability at all. I mean, they really don't understand it. I could write books about it, and people still, I don't get it. It's the same is true with prophecy. If you can't actually see what it says, you're never going to see it, because you just don't have, that language is not programmed into your brain. You were never taught to think like that. Neither was most anybody. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and prophecy is real. But I warn you against ever trying to engage in divination, because it's dangerous for many, many reasons. So please don't do it. Don't do it. As I've explained many reasons, many countless times why it is. So thanks so much for watching. If you ever want to read any of my articles, they're free on Substack and also through the description below. Any donations always warmly welcome. Send me an email, and thank you so much. Lux Evertas.